Hi, I'm Devashmita and I warmly welcome you back to my channel. For the past 1 week, I have not been keeping well physically. Mentally, well, that is perpetual. But yeah, now I guess it's high time that I finally come up with the political science video. So without any delay, let us get straight to the point. This is the one subject which I was so sanguine of messing up really very horribly. But guess what? It did not become my 13th reason why. It did not become my 6th subject. I did not fail it. Rather, I passed in political science with 99 marks. One MCQ can literally cost you 100. Getting straight to the topic. Firstly, do your NCERT. Every chapter, every topic, every subtopic, every line, and every word. Okay. So first, you have got to match the chapters given in your book, the whichever book you are having, whichever edition, with the rationalized edition of 2025-26, which is available on the CBSE official website. I'll be putting the link down below in the description box. Please do match all the topics which you are having, because there might be some addition, there might be some reduction. Okay. So whenever you are sitting down to study any chapter, you should follow this one sequence, okay, which I followed. Firstly, a cursory overview, and side by side go on enlisting your topics, your subtopics, and then read the chapter thoroughly. Okay, make notes. How? In the form of questions and answers, because that is how you are going to learn the entire chapter and remember it by heart. Learn the entire chapter. You cannot give yourself any scope of making a mistake, because any topic you leave, any topic you feel like it is unimportant, is a mark that you lose. So make notes in the form of questions and answers. Yes, it is going to be a lot time consuming, but you will be able to manage everything eventually if you follow some tricks. Okay, the first trick is pick a keyword from each of the lines to remember, or like lines which are conveying the same meaning. Okay, lines which are connected to one particular point. Okay, understand their meaning and then learn them, keeping in mind the keyword. Question of Sikkim Marjo, what I did was, I divided this entire box which is given. I learned it entirely and I divided it into 5 portions. So remember it that first I have to write about Sikkim being a protectorate, and then the arrangement which prevailed, and then the first elections which were held, and then like sticking the status of being an associate state, and then becoming the 22nd state of India eventually. So if you remember this few keywords, key ideas, so your answer is already prepared. This is in case you can't form mnemonics. Second case is forming mnemonics. Okay, like for example, your contemporary South Asia chapter, democracy is becoming the first choice of the people of South India, justified. So you are like having this para. So what you can do is, right, like from the first sentence you pick up aspiration, from the second sentence you pick up survey, from the third sentence you pick up the ordinary citizens point of view, which is you put it like you bring it down to ordinary, and then the fourth sentence you pick the word prefer. Okay, and from the last sentence you pick up earlier. So you are getting ASOPE. So this is how you make the mnemonics, and this is how you have got to make learning easier for yourself. Only you can do that. I can just suggest you ways like how I made learning for myself easier, because I learned the entire book, I learned every chapter, I learned the entire NCERT textbooks cover to cover. That is, there is not a single topic which I did not study, because I could not afford to take the risk to make any mistake. And that is why I keep on repeating that studying your NCERT thoroughly is very, very important. There can be nothing more important than that in the next 1 year or next 2 years for you. Okay, nothing else can be more important than learning your NCERT by heart and soul. The third type, divide your larger topic into smaller ones. Okay, and make subheadings. Make your subheadings or your headings in such a way that they will be self-explanatory. Okay, like for example, the consequences of the 1975 emergency. In that case, it is given in the form of this long para. So what you can do from here is I made smaller subheadings at the side. I wrote in the sticky note. So first, agitation to an abrupt stop, then press censorship, then Rashtriya Swayamsevak Jamaati Islami thing, and the right of citizens, and then preventive detention, the large scale arrests and habeas corpus thing, and then April 1976, one of the most controversial judgments of the Supreme Court, then acts of dissent and resistance to emergency, then many new changes in constitution, all of the changes which came up after that. Okay, so this is how you make your learning easier for yourself. Second way is, as the subheadings are given in the book, like take up another Congress chapter. Let's take up that one, non-congressism part, 1967 elections. Okay, so in your book itself, it is given, all the subheadings have been made for yourself. Context of the elections, you further divide it into the context of the elections, like whatever issue arose and what was the scenario back then. And then non-congressism, you further can divide it into formation, and then development, and then the feeling which prevailed, and then the terminology, how it evolved, and then the theoretical argument put forward by Ram Manohar Lohia in defense of his non-congressism term. So then electoral verdict, then coalitions, and then defection. Okay, so if you are learning in this manner, it gets a lot easier, trust me. Do not rely solely on specific notes, do not rely on question banks or any of those all in one. Okay, only NCERT is going to be your savior all the time. Writing answers, introduction, presentation, conclusion. Yeah, and make your headings, subheadings self-explanatory and relevant headings. Okay, capital, underlined, and answer in bullets. Do not go on answering in your story form. Okay, you might get it as a 6-marker question, like the objectives of the Dravidian movement, but I wrote the entire thing. I actually did. Like dividing it into introduction, like the quote which is given in the beginning, the North thrives even as the South decays, and then you know the dominant sentiment and the most, like how it was one of the most effective of the first regional movements and the ambitions and means which were employed. Okay, that becomes your introduction, and then your presentation will become the formation of Dravidar Kazhagam, and then finally the split into Dravidar Munnetra Kazhagam, and then you know the conclusion can be like politics since 1967, like whatever happened. So whatever question you are attempting, make sure that you write your question, you present it in such an impressive manner, like with your introduction, presentation, conclusion, with your answers like very neatly organized. I'm not telling you to have the most beautiful handwriting in the world, but make your presentation, like make your handwriting legible. Writing extra is not wrong as long as it's related to your topic only. Like just because you have learned the entire chapter, do not go on including the details. Like sometimes it might happen, you might get confused when you are writing the answer, and you might by mistake include some detail from some other like chapter or some other event which happened, and it's all right as long as you are not doing it intentionally. But if you're not sure of something, it's better to not mention that. It is not going to cause you any harm. But writing extra related to the same topic is not going to like cause some harm to you. You can do that. I have done that, and I have not received any deduction on that ground. Names and information from both books, all the chapters in the boxes which are given, as well as from within the text. Okay, in case of your MCQ, you have to be very well versed with the post held by them, the party they belong to, their literary works, the state they belong to, their initiatives and achievements. Okay, and if you can be like be aware of their like time frame. And in case of your map pointing, what happens is that they will give you a personality. They are not going to give you the direct name in 4 out of the 5 questions, like or 3 out of the 4 questions you have. So you need to identify the personality whom they're talking about from the prompt which will be given, and then the state. So do one thing, make a separate list, like personality, state, to which they belonged, or like states they were associated with. Do not need to study the film review. I did not study any film review. And do not skip the introduction and conclusion portions of the chapter. Everything is important. Extra material which is given is not included in your syllabus. It is only for the reference by your teacher or by like your student for any like further clarification on the related topics. You don't have to learn them. Do not rely on the weightage provided by any book or in the CBSE course syllabus. As I said previously, like say one chapter is having a weightage of 5 or 2 marks, so you do not prepare a 6-mark question from that. But what if you get a 6-mark question from there? Like this happened this year, and some people were complaining. I am thankful to God that I did not follow any kind of weightage given in the like official CBSE syllabus PDF or in any kind of reference book, and I learned the entire chapter. I'm so thankful to myself that I could manage it. Like understanding each and every concept is very important in case of competency-based question. Now people are gonna be like, political science is a subject which you have to learn, you just have to memorize, you just have to mark up so many things. There's nothing to understand that much. You have to understand timelines as in the boxes. Okay, the leaders of the USSR and the prime ministers of India since 1989 and the secretary generals of like United Nations, like as per the tenure, like learn as per the tenure. It will be easy to remember the year to year or like month year to month year. Okay, and if you remember the first one, then it is actually done. You don't have to remember the rest of the sequences. Their names in the order and the duration. Okay, just remember the duration. It is not going to be that easy to remember exactly from which date to which month to which year or like whatever. So just remember the starting date, like the first person's starting date and the last person ending date, and the names of the personality in the order. Okay, so for United Nations Secretary General, you will see there is an order like starting from 1946, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, 9 years, 9 years, 4 years, 9 years, 9 years, 8 years running. So that is how you do it. And yeah, I give an example. And in my question paper, there was a question like which prime ministers had ruled for less than 12 months, less than 1 year. So I did a very clever thing when I was learning the chapter itself. You can see when I was learning the chapter itself, since I knew I am not going to be able to recall precisely from which month of which year to which month of which year they held the post of prime minister. So what I did was like I remembered the names in order, and then 11 months, 7 months, full term, 1 month, 10 months, 11 months, and then first 13 months, and then full term, and then 10 years, and then 10 plus years. This is how I remember. Your international organization chapters as well as other chapters as well. Your boxes are very, very important. Learn them. They might ask short notes, so do not just like learn it in the form of MCQs. They might ask you short notes. It's also going to be very helpful for you for your practical like Viva exam. From your world book in the first, second, the third chapters, and your international organization, every month you are having timelines. So each and every month and date is important. I learned all of them, no matter whether how much underlining, highlighting, circling, and writing them down repeatedly and forming mnemonics and using various tricks which it took me. I learned them all. Okay, so the more you practice, the more easily you can memorize them. Study the maps which are given in the book. Do study them, India book as well as world book. You can be sure that they will not ask you to do any map pointing from the world book, but just have a look. Like just have so many looks that you are sure that even if any question is by chance asked, I will not leave it unattempted. Know all the states of India well. Okay, so that it helps you in map pointing. If you're a geography student, you already know that. Cartoons, get clarified them from your teacher first of all, and then link it with your own understanding of the chapter or the topic which is given alongside, and then follow the marking scheme of the PYQs, which you will find I'll be putting down in the description box. Okay, what I like, I'm not talking about the cartoons which are given in the form of very stupid remarks at the side of the textbook of a teacher and her student. No, I was so frustrated with those cartoons. What I did the day before the exam, I took the help of ChatGPT. Yeah, I put a prompt like explain the given cartoon to me from NCERT textbook, NCERT textbook in political science, politics in India since independence. Shall I send a photo? So then then ChatGPT will answer, yes, please send. I'm going to decode the cartoon for you. And then I, like, it will tell you, but you should also confirm the people in the cartoon, the meaning and the background of the cartoon. Okay, yeah, the context, I mean. Okay, so do the chapter wise, year and month, year timelines. Prepare your own, like, if you do it topic wise, it gets much easier. That is how I did it, and I will be also uploading a PDF in which you will see how I did it. Pictures and their captions, very important. I lost my 1 mark MCQ because the morning of my exam I could not complete going through the captions under all the pictures. Okay, so make sure that the morning of your exam, whichever exam, unit test or the final board exam day, go through the captions which are given beneath, like underneath the pictures. India book, if you go chapter wise and the Congress chapters, you absolutely do not need much effort. Okay, so remember the subheadings and understand what happened, and you can write in your own words, but be precise with the keywords, like the key terms which you yourself will be able to recognize once you are studying everything thoroughly. And I guess regional aspirations is the only chapter that will trouble you a bit because there are a lot of events. It will feel as if they have put everything and it might get overwhelming for you, but be very specific about the community, states and their demands, and divide your chapter into chunks and then only learn it, and it is going to be very easy for you. Right now you can take up regional aspirations if you want, because it's just the beginning of the session and you are not having that much of a load because it's a chapter towards the end, and if you're leaving it for the last minute, it is going to trouble you, especially the Kashmir portion, which is having a lot of details. So what I did in that case, I made a chronological order of who became the leader after whom and what happened to that person. Like I summarized it and I made a sequence kind of thing. Remember all the accords and agreements with their dates and between whom it was signed and the clauses. Okay, and make a flowchart of the parties and leaders. Okay, and yeah, your world book is, I guess, comparatively a bit complicated, especially in the first and the second chapter, but if you follow whatever I told you, you are going to easily learn everything. Okay, and yeah, the environmental and natural resources and the security in the contemporary world chapters are also important. Do not skip them just because they look like some theoretical chapter, like some chapter which is full of stories. Not skip them. Yeah, that is pretty much everything I had to say. I'll be putting in all the resources which I feel will help you in some way or the other. I'm thankful to you for watching this video. With love, Devushmita. I missed to say this, but in case of your Congress chapters, like actually in case of the election, starting from the first general election to the last chapter which is given in your book, that beginning of the NDA government, so learn, I mean, understand, remember, okay, remember the context of the election, who won and why, who lost and why, when did the coalition like government started rising, the years in which the elections were held, as well as the state assembly elections also, and the context of the election, the aftermath of the election, and any like special, like some special event which is attributed to it. So you got to be very, very careful about that. In that case, you can like look up the video which I have, which I recorded right the day before my political science exam, because therein I have shared everything, like whatever I was focusing on at the last minute. Okay, and especially India's relations with its neighbors as well as Russia and America. Yeah, do that properly. And like if you just have a look at that video, like it is like you're going to have a view of everything that I did the day before my board exam, and you can start implementing that from right now itself.